Most people live on the surface of their lives, skimming across the shallow waters of experience, never daring to dive too deep. But there are some who are born with a hunger to know what lies beneath, not just facts, not just answers, but the essence, the hidden architecture of reality, the bones beneath the skin of the world. These people are often seen as strange, intense, or even dangerous, not because they are wrong, but because they unsettle the carefully constructed illusions that keep most people comfortable. The deep thinker is not just someone who contemplates ideas. They are someone for whom the world refuses to remain simple. A word is never just a word. A glance is never just a glance. Everything becomes a doorway into meaning, into mystery, into madness. To think deeply is to disturb the surface, to stir the sediment of inherited beliefs, social conventions, and unconscious patterns. It is to become aware of how much of our lives are lived in sleep, and that awakening, it comes at a cost. Isolation, misunderstanding, sometimes even despair. Why? Because the deeper you see, the more you realize how blind the world chooses to be. It's not that people can't understand, it's that they often don't want to. To live without illusion is terrifying. The ego clings to comforting lies like a child clutches a blanket, and when a deep thinker speaks the truth, that truth feels like a threat. Not because it's cruel, but because it's real. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But he also warned that this path leads you into the darkest parts of yourself, into the shadow, the unconscious, the forgotten wounds. The deep thinker walks that path willingly, not because they enjoy suffering, but because they know there is no wholeness without truth. And so they descend. While others climb ladders of success, social approval, and pleasure, the deep thinker climbs downward into the soul. They ask questions others don't dare to ask. Who am I beneath the masks? What is the purpose of suffering? Why does existence even exist? And perhaps the most dangerous question of all, what if the meaning we've all agreed upon is a lie? In a world obsessed with speed, the deep thinker moves slowly. In a culture addicted to noise, they seek silence. In an age that worships certainty, they embrace doubt. This doesn't make them superior. It makes them lonely, because to question everything is to unsettle everyone. It's no coincidence that many of history's greatest minds, Nietzsche, Dostoevsky, Kierkegaard, Simone Weil, lived lives marked by solitude and struggle. Their insights weren't gifted from above. They were carved from pain. There's a kind of knowing that only comes when everything else has been stripped away. You don't find truth by adding more. You find it by removing what's false. Peel back the conditioning, peel back the roles, peel back the fears. What's left? Something terrifying, something sacred, something real. Deep thinking isn't about being clever. It's about being honest, radically honest, with yourself, with reality. It's a form of rebellion. In a world of ready-made answers, it asks better questions. In a world of masks, it seeks the face beneath. And once you start to see, you can't unsee. You notice how language shapes perception, how stories become cages, how comfort becomes control. You begin to realize how much of life is theater, rituals for belonging, not meaning. Here's the tragedy. The deep thinker longs for connection, but depth isolates. Most people don't want to dig. They dance on the surface, and digging threatens the game. So, the deep thinker becomes the outsider, the wanderer, the philosopher in the desert, speaking truths no one wants to hear. But here's the paradox. Though alone, they're not truly lonely. The deeper you go, the more you realize you're not the only one. Others left breadcrumbs, books, music, symbols. When you find them, it's like a secret handshake across time, a whisper from someone who saw what you see, felt what you feel, and made it back with something glowing. Wisdom, not for quoting, but for breathing, for suffering, for living, the kind that breaks you and remakes you. Because deep thinking isn't a curse, it's a calling to see, even when others won't, to feel, even when it hurts, to keep asking, even when answers don't come, not to be different, but because you must. It's how you're wired, and that is rare. In a world of distraction, your focus is rebellion. In a world afraid of silence, your stillness is courage. In a world that confuses ignorance with bliss, your awareness is power. So, if you've ever felt like you think too much, feel too deeply, or see too clearly, know this: you are not broken. You are breaking the spell. Because the world doesn't need louder voices, it needs deeper ones. The kind that echo in silence and remind us of who we are.
If this made you pause, if you're drawn to deeper truths and quiet strength, then you're in the right place. Like, subscribe, and keep exploring with us. See you in the next one.